Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're having a great day and thanks so much for joining me for another art video. So 2021 is quickly coming to an end, which is absolutely insane if you ask me. But I know that with this, many of you fellow artists out there are interested in starting to build up a goal list for the upcoming year, projects you want to start on, things you want to do, etc. And I also know because of the emails and the comments and the questions that I receive via my different platforms and communities that a lot of beginner artists getting started on their journeys are holding themselves back from making the progress that they could be making because of lack of clarity, because of lack of goals, and they're just overwhelmed and frustrated with the vast array of resources that they have available that don't seem to be working for them. And for some beginner artists, it's not even a problem of setting goals. They have clear goals, but it's poor time management that kind of gets in the way of their progress. I really want to help make 2022 your best art year yet. And so, what I want to share with you today is part of a live training that I shared over on Patreon on goal setting and time management tips. And all of these are tips that I have used myself that have helped me get to the point that I'm currently at which I am making a full living doing what I love, which is creating and selling art and teaching art to people all over the world. Now, if you're a self-taught artist and you're having trouble knowing what topics to cover, what kind of things to work on so that you can move forward more successfully and not leave holes in your learning, I would highly recommend checking out another training that I'm making available for you guys for free. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description box to that one as well. You can sign up to be an Art Email Insider and you'll get access to that immediately because that training with this one paired together, these two are going to be super, super powerful in creating a learning path for yourself. And at the same time, establishing goals, doable goals that you're gonna be able to work on every single week to make consistent progress towards your goals. All right, you guys, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump in. One of the main things that a lot of beginner artists come to me with, one of the main struggles, I should say, is that they feel super scattered, super lost, overwhelmed, constantly distracted, and unable to make the quick, deeper progress that they want to make towards their artistic goals. Even the ones who are super serious, super motivated, and they're really wanting and willing to put in the hard work to work towards their goals, what's happening is that they're constantly distracted and scattered. It's really no surprise because with the internet and with social media, we're constantly bombarded with other people's amazing work. We're constantly bombarded with new courses to take, new tutorials to work on, all of these different things that can make it very difficult for us to stay focused on one thing. What I often find with a lot of these people is that 99% of the time, they're not even setting strategic goals for themselves artistically. If you're working on your art as a hobby, then you don't need to set any specific goals because your objective is just enjoying the process, right? And you don't have any long-term goals to set. But if you really want to make deeper artistic progress or you want to get to a point at which you're selling your art or making some sort of income with your art, then it's very, very important that you start setting SMART goals for yourself and work towards them. Put those blinders on and stay focused on one specific thing or two specific things or whatever makes sense for you. But it is important that you establish a path for yourself because if you don't, it's the same thing as with any other area of your life that you want to make deeper progress in. If you're jumping around from thing to thing, you're never going to make deep progress in any particular area. So you do have to have at least some sort of path established for yourself that you're going to be working through. This skill to stay focused is really, really important nowadays because we are being hit left and right all day long with all of these different just stimuli, visual stimuli, and other types of just media and social media, the news, all sorts of things like that that distract us. And it's becoming even more important that we build up the skill of staying focused. And I have shared myself in other live streams how I practice digital minimalism myself. I am honestly never on my phone until I am done with my workday, or I am sharing something myself, or I am communicating with students or community members. That is the only reason and the only times in the day at which I take my phone and start like going on social media. Throughout the entire day, I have my phone set on like silent because as an artist, as a creative, I need that space to be able to fully delve into my work, and I need to get in the flow. And if I'm constantly distracted by all of these dings in my phone and all that kind of stuff, then I am not going to be able to do the work that I have to be doing. I'm not going to be able to stay as productive as I can. So I really like limit my amount of time that I spend on the phone. I limit my amount of time that I spend responding to emails. I have specific times in the day and specific amounts of time that I focus on those things. And I know that it's important that I do that, especially as a creative, because once you get in the flow, you want to keep that flow going, right? If you want to see something through or advance as much as you could advance in that thing that you're working on. Really developing that muscle to stay focused and not allow yourself to get distracted with things that don't really matter. And the more technological advances come up and the faster our lives become, the more important it is that we continue building up that muscle. The solution for so many of these beginner artists who feel lost, who feel scattered, who feel overwhelmed, who are not able to make the progress that they could be making with their art, is to set goals strategically and in a smart way. I had to learn how to do it, and I'm going to be sharing all of that with you today. One thing is just setting random goals, and it's quite another to learn how to actually set goals that are meaningful and exciting to you, that push you out of your comfort zone, but are simultaneously doable for you in your current point in life and with the resources and the time that you're currently having. Here are 5 essential things to know about or start developing your learning on. They're going to help you make the most out of the goal setting strategy that I'm going to be sharing with you next. So number 1 thing is make sure that you're setting goals for these 3 important areas of your life. You should not be ignoring any one of these areas because they all kind of intermix, they all affect each other. And if you ignore one of these areas for way too long, you can bet that your productivity and your happiness and your enjoyment with the other areas is going to be affected as well. The 3 areas are the personal realm, and this one is basically all of the activities and the tasks pertaining to your mental and physical well-being. So, are you drinking enough water? Are you moving your body? Are you meditating? Are you journaling? Are you doing your spiritual practice? All of these things go for your personal section. All of the things that you're doing to stay well mentally and physically. Now, another key area of your life that is super important to set goals in is the professional area. So with professional, I mean your work-related skills that you want to continue developing or skills that you're serious about improving on. Okay, so even if art is a hobby for you, but you want to see how far you can take it, I would still see this as the professional or a goal that you can set in the professional area. Even if you don't have a full-time job, there are still things that I'm sure you're interested in that you want to continue developing and seeing how far you can push yourself with. And also, if you are working in a quote-unquote regular job or you have your own business, then how are you going to be continuing to develop yourself professionally? Courses, things like that. Like all of those things are pertaining to the professional area. The third area is the interpersonal area, and this is where your relationships with other people are: family, friends, all that kind of stuff. This is super, super important as well, because you don't want to ignore all of these super important people in your life. You need to make sure that you continue nurturing those relationships. Setting SMART goals. When I was completely failing at making progress towards the goals that I used to set, I wasn't setting SMART goals. I had no idea how to set goals that I could actually work towards. And so I completely failed. When I learned about SMART goals, it made a ton of difference for me. And this is why I wanted to add this in. Because if you don't take these 5 things into account when you're setting your goals, it's highly, highly unlikely that you're going to actually be able to move towards them consistently and be able to reach them. For goals to be meaningful and doable, they have to be SMART goals. So SMART is an acronym. Essentially, each letter in the word SMART means something, and it's just an acronym that can help you remember these 5 key things to have in mind when you are setting your goals. Make sure that these goals that you set for yourself all have these 5 key things in them. Number 1, they have to be specific. So they have to be simple. And when you set your goal, ask yourself, who is going to be doing this? Is it just me? Is it someone else? Am I going to be needing someone else's help to complete this task or this goal? What am I going to be doing exactly? When is it going to be done by? Where am I going to do it? Which resources, which items am I going to be needing to make this happen, and why am I doing this? Okay, be as specific as you can be, because if you're very general with your goal, then that is going to need to lead to very general results. You have to be kind of very, very specific when you're setting goals. And something that I often use as an example is making progress as an artist or improving my art skills. That's very, very general. When you are setting your art goals, say something like, I am going to be filling up 3 sketchbooks this year, or I am going to be completing 3 courses this year, or I am going to be creating a series of 10 watercolor pieces that are animal paintings. Specific things like that. You want a specific number. Okay, just make it as specific as possible. It's like saying, I want to get healthier this year. Well, what does that even mean? Are you going to be drinking more water? Are you going to be working out 3 times a week? Are you going to be going on walks? Are you going to be trying to make homemade meals? What exactly does getting healthy mean? Okay, so you want to be very, very specific. The M in SMART means measurable. So you need to have a metric for measuring tangible progress. If you're not able to measure your progress, then you're not going to be able to iterate your strategy, right? You're not going to be able to have anything tangible to analyze and be able to continue noticing strengths and weaknesses that you may or may not have. And having something tangible is going to allow you to continue improving your strategy and moving forward in a more mindful way, depending on what you currently need, what you're currently lacking. You need to have some sort of tangible metric that is going to help you see the progress that you're making over time. For example, something that's measurable is like, I'm going to fill 2 sketchbooks. So that's measurable because you can actually see if you filled up those sketchbooks or not. Something that's measurable is, I'm going to complete this course by February, okay? So that's measurable because a course usually has a specific number of classes, maybe even a specific number of assignments that you have to get done, and you set a specific time frame for yourself as well. So that's measurable. You can see that you completed something in a tangible way. A in SMART means achievable. So you have to be very, very kind of practical about the time and the resources that you currently have available in this point in time in your life. It makes no sense to set a huge goal that is going to be it's just going to lead to frustration for you because you don't have enough time to work on it, you don't have the resources to work on it, etc. and so forth. So maybe you have a full-time job, maybe you have kids, maybe you have kids and are working in, I don't know, a part-time job, or you're studying, or whatever the case may be. You have to have in mind those responsibilities that you already need to take care of on a week-to-week basis. Bring to mind the resources that you have in terms of the time, in terms of even the budget that you have to invest in your supplies and whatnot. Bring all of that to mind when you're setting your goals so that you don't set these huge goals for yourself that don't really make sense to you, because then that's going to be very frustrating. Remember that every single time you hit a milestone and you complete one of those weekly tasks that I'm going to be talking about next, your confidence increases, your sense of belief in yourself increases, and you feel motivated to keep on pushing forward. But if you constantly fail at reaching even the small tasks that you create for yourself because you never have the time, or I don't know, whatever the case may be, you don't have the resources, then every single time you fail to meet that task, your confidence and your belief in yourself and what you can and can't do is going to go down. And we don't want that. So you have to be very strategic and very mindful and practical about the goals that you set for yourself. No one else matters because no one is in your specific shoes. Really analyze your current life situation and make decisions on goals that work for you. And if these goals are small and you feel that you can only work on small goals right now, that is perfectly okay. It can be quicker sketches. If you stay consistent, small little steps over a long period of time, that is going to lead to big results. Moving on to relevance, R in SMART goals is it is important and meaningful for your bigger picture. As I said before, you really have to give thought to the life that you want to be living 6 months, a year from now, the person that you want to be. What is your vision, your end vision? And you have to set goals that go hand in hand with your personal vision for your life. No one else's. You cannot be setting goals based on what someone else's goals are or what someone else is working on if it doesn't make sense for you and your life vision. This is why it's so important to continue reflecting and just doing journaling and all of these things that are going to help you delve deeper into yourself and realize what's important to you and what you want your life to look like. If they don't feel important and relevant to you, to your dreams, to your life vision, then it's very, very easy for you to give up because things are going to get challenging, things are going to get hard, things are going to pop up in your life that you weren't expecting, that are going to make it so that you feel like it's harder, like you are being pulled away from your goals, and maybe you even have to take a break because things pop up that you need to take care of. And it's just super easy for you to just let it go and set it off to the side. And it makes sense because if your goals were not even that important for you to begin with, then when something pops up in your life and distracts you away from those goals, you're not going to want to come back to them. It's just easy for you to give up when things get hard for one reason or another. So it's very, very important that you know your why and that you keep your vision top of mind always. The final word in SMART goals is time bound. So it's important that once you have selected that goal that makes sense for you and the current time and resources that you have, that you create at least some sort of time frame for yourself. If you don't set any specific time to finish that project or that task or whatever the case may be, it can be something small to something larger. But if you don't establish some sort of time frame for yourself, it's very likely that it's going to take you way longer to complete it, or you're never going to finish it at all.
because we're all so busy and life moves so fast and we're pulled in so many different directions that if you don't clearly establish some sort of time frame, whether you're going to finish something a week from now, a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever the case may be, depending on the magnitude and the complexity of your goal, then it's very likely that you're not going to reach it. I remember reading at some point that if you give yourself a week to complete a task, you're going to take a week. And if you give yourself a day to complete the task, it's going to take you a day. Make sure that you are using your time as wisely as possible. And remember that we're not going for perfection, we're going for progress. So the more times you see a project through from start to finish, on and on and on, the more momentum you gain and the more progress you're able to make. So even if you get it 70% of the way through or completed to the level of greatness or perfection that you initially anticipated, that is great. You can call it done and you can move on to the next thing. But do establish some sort of time frame for yourself in which you want to finish that project. Moving on to the next slide, set up an inspiring place to work on your art in. The reason why I'm saying this is because this will help you stay consistent. If you have no specific space to work on your art in, or you have your art supplies locked away, stored away in a closet or drawer somewhere, and you never see them, it's going to be very difficult for you to stay consistent. When I was still working in that last regular full-time job and I established that plan for myself that I was talking about before, and one of those things in my plan were really improving my artistic skills, so that I could have something to offer to others that was quality. I didn't have any specific room to work on my art in. I barely had the living room and the end of my table, and it wasn't even a big table. So what I did was I used a box where I kept all of my art supplies, and then I just had it near my living room table so that I could have those supplies and my personal art projects and courses that I was working on top of mind when I got home from work. And when I had time on the weekends, that was right there for me, and I could just grab it and get to work on my projects in this space that I had already kind of decided was going to be the area or the space that I was going to be using to work on my art. If you don't have any space, or if you have kids running around, or whatever the case may be, don't worry. You can always just establish a little section of a room, or establish you just using your living room table or your kitchen table, and help yourself or prepare yourself with a box, a bin, or even a pouch where you keep your art supplies, okay? And make sure that you have those top of mind, so that whenever you have the time, you can just go ahead and grab those, and you'll be constantly reminded to continue working on your art. Thing number 4 that is going to help you make the most out of your goal setting strategy is continue working on your mindset always. Guys that have been part of my Patreon community probably all already well aware that I'm a huge believer in continuing to work on your mindset. If you're an artist who really is interested in being an artist long term and taking your journey to the highest level that you could possibly get to, it's very important that you continue working on your mindset alongside your technical drawing or painting skills. I cannot even begin to explain how important this has been for me. I wouldn't consider myself to be positive all the time or anything, but I used to be like very stuck in a limiting mindset. I had very limiting beliefs, and I had this gremlin constantly telling me that I wasn't good enough. Why am I doing this? Blah blah, all of these things that were holding me back from really jumping in with both feet into my art journey and make the progress that I could be making and enjoying my journey so much more. It wasn't until I started understanding about mindset, about psychology, about how to break free from these limiting beliefs that I was having from this self-doubt and all of this, that I started making heaps of artistic progress. And it really entailed me jumping into books on psychology, books that helped me kind of with the anxiety and the stress that I was feeling, even the depression. So I started learning about that from books. I started learning about that from courses. And I started really delving deeper into mindset, psychology, self-help, and all those things that we can easily find for free online now. So many amazing psychologists, so many amazing people that help with productivity and success and time management and like just breaking free from limiting beliefs are sharing their content online for free. And that's what I am surrounding myself with and listening to day in and day out, alongside all of this art content that is helping me develop my cold artistic skills. Being an artist and making artistic progress is challenging because of many different reasons. We are working on our art primarily alone. We don't have a team around us helping us out. Our artwork is a very personal thing, right? It comes from ourselves. And putting our artwork out there requires a ton of courage. Many times we have to be pushing through with people who are around us, who are being kind of not very helpful with their words, they're not very encouraging. All of this makes it challenging to be an artist and to make deeper progress as artists. So if you have limiting beliefs, if you're stuck with imposter syndrome or all of these things, then that is going to just hold you back. Whatever you think you can or can't do, you're right. So if you think you can't do something, you probably won't be able to do it. And if you think you can do something, over time you will be able to, even though maybe in the first or second or third try you can't. But if you have a deep belief within yourself that you will be able to do it, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you will be able to do it if you keep on developing your skills and keep on learning, then you will be able to get there. As an artist, it's very important that you have a growth mindset. The difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, people with a growth mindset know deep within their bones that as long as they keep trying, as long as they keep working and learning towards developing those skills and that knowledge, they're gonna get better and better and better. They have no kind of ceiling to what they can achieve. They can always keep improving. And people with a fixed mindset are those people who believe that from the moment they were born, they would only be able to reach a certain level. So why even try? Or why try to move past that and just like accept? They think it's better to just accept it and not even try, okay? And you can have a growth mindset in some areas and a fixed mindset in other areas. Anyway, Carol Dweck has an amazing TED Talk that you can find on YouTube on growth versus fixed mindset that I would highly, highly recommend checking out. You'll learn much more about this very interesting topic. So I would recommend continuing to work on your mindset because it will help you move forward faster. It will help you enjoy your journey a lot more. And you're going to be able to succeed long term. Having a defeatist attitude and getting frustrated easily because things are not turning out perfectly really is a recipe for disaster, and it's a recipe for giving up way too soon. Ingest books and media that's actually helpful and positive. Ingest inspiring podcasts shared by other artists and creatives that is going to help you stay encouraged and motivated and inspired. Instead of seeing negative news and alarmist things, make sure that you're ingesting things that are going to help you build up that strong, positive, or at least optimistic mindset that is going to help you move forward faster. And finally, and this is so, so important, you guys, so that you can really make the most out of 2022. And this is learn to say no and learn to set boundaries with your loved ones and your friends and everything. As a people pleaser, I know that this can be super, super hard, but it does get easier over time, and you learn how to do this with grace, with kindness. And so it's super, super essential to set boundaries, because if you don't set boundaries, you're going to be living on everyone else's needs and desires. And again, you're going to be putting your own goals backseat to everyone else's needs and wants. Even for those of you guys who have kids, if they're old enough, right? If they're babies, obviously that you don't have much of a say in, you can't really establish a specific kind of schedule in the day if they're very, very young. But if they're over a certain age, you can really talk with them. Talk with them, talk with your husband, talk with your kids, and tell them from, I don't know, 7 to 8, I am going to be working on my art. Please keep distractions to a minimum unless the house is burning down or something like an emergency comes up. Please, I need time, I need space, I need silence. Thank you. Just let them know, okay? Also, I would highly, highly recommend limiting your phone time and making sure that all those people who are constantly messaging you via WhatsApp, social media, like all of that, limit it. I cannot recommend putting your phone in silence mode for at least a certain amount of time during the day enough, because as I said before, it's so, so easy to, you think you're going to have 2 hours to work on your art any given day, that you're going to be able to do a lot. But if you have your phone beside you and it's constantly dinging and ringing, you're going to be jumping in and out of that flow state, and you're going to be able to do very, very little. What I like doing is literally I keep my phone upstairs. It's on silent almost all day long. The other day, I even went to the grocery store and the Amazon guy couldn't reach me because my phone was on silent mode. I keep it on silent mode literally almost all the time, because if not, I'm going to go crazy with like the amount of ringing and all that. And I don't have time to be answering everyone's messages, especially when things that are not even that important, which happens all the time. So I have specific times in the day at which I check emails, at which I check phone messages, at which I go on social media, which isn't really until the end of the day, unless, as I said, I am posting, creating content myself to share, or I am responding to students and community members' messages. Otherwise, there is no reason for me to be scrolling on social media. I really like to practice digital minimalism as much as I can, and it helps me be as productive as possible. The last point here in point number 5 is ask yourself if this action/event will get you closer to any of the goals that you mentioned or that you set for the 3 areas of your life: personal, professional, interpersonal. If that action or event does not get you closer to your goals that you establish in those 3 areas of your life, consider saying no, and don't feel guilty for saying no. This may take time. As I said, I myself consider myself still to be working on that people-pleasing aspect of myself. I have slowly but surely learned to say no, okay? I have said no to social gatherings, especially when I was still working at that last regular full-time job, and I had very little time to work on my art and art courses after work because I still had to get home after teaching after school extracurricular classes. I had to work out in the evenings because I was already waking up at 5 a.m. to make it to work. Maybe I had like 20 to 30 minutes to work on a quick sketch at the end of the day, but that was it. And maybe I had a little bit of time during the day at work and between classes, but it was minimal, and working on my art during the weekends. And in the weekends is when most of the social gatherings came up, family commitments, yada, yada. And I wasn't going to say no to something like a wedding or something like that, because that's a once in a lifetime situation or a special celebration of sorts. But if it was just a family get together, I said no. And I just used that time to work on my art, to continue building up my own business on the side, because a lot of the times I was teaching also during the weekends. I was starting to teach older kids and adults as well during the weekend. So I had all of these things that I had to say no to, even when it came to watching TV late at night. Like, believe me, when I got home from work, all I wanted to do was veg out on the couch and watch TV and just eat until I fell asleep. But I really had to give that up, and I had to focus on what would help me or serve me long term. I had to focus on that end vision during that very, very difficult period in time. Notice how I said whatever is not moving you towards your goals in the 3 areas of your life. And one of those areas, I placed it first, is the personal area, where your mental and physical well-being are. Resting, relaxing, enjoying life, laughing, okay? Being with your loved ones is important. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying only work all the time, but do make sure that you're setting goals in that personal area. When are you going to be practicing your self-care, which in self-care I mean exercise, eating well, meditating, journaling, all those things should be prioritized and scheduled into your weekly routines. Relaxation, making time for sleep, all of that is important, but make sure that you schedule it in. Same goes for your personal relationships. So for me, date night is important with the husband. Making time to call my mom is important. During these last couple of years, making sure that I'm having Skype conversations with my brother, with my mom and my stepdad. That is super important. I schedule it in. It's a priority. It's a goal. It's scheduled in. If you're going to be having friend time, schedule that in. Schedule in the time that you're going to be having your friend time. That is very, very important as well. I'm not saying don't do that, but make sure that you give thought to it beforehand and that you schedule it in. You're not going to be able to stick to this like super strictly because things come up, because other people's, especially when it comes to this interpersonal area or aspect of life, there are other people involved. Other people's schedules are involved. And so you're not going to be able to follow it to a T, but it's going to help you develop that skill to really prioritize what matters and start creating a routine for yourself so that art can become a routine for you, which is key so that you can gain that momentum. It's not about sitting around and waiting to get inspired or motivated to work on your art. Relying on inspiration and motivation is a recipe for disaster because inspiration and motivation are fleeting, and someone who really, really wants to make deeper progress has to create art because it's part of his routine. It's just one of the things that you do, whether you feel super inspired or not, which most of the time the inspiration comes when you're working. Art has to become ultimately just something that you do because it's a part of you. Number 1, and this is key, take a pause, do some reflection, some introspection, and really give thought to what your vision is for your life. As an artist, what is the vision? What is the life that you want to be living? Where do you want to be 6 months from now or a year from now? In the 3 key areas of your life. In your personal area, meaning your mental health and physical health, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in your professional area? So when it comes to your art skills, what skills do you want to have developed 3 months or 6 months from now? What do you want to be working on 3 to 6 months from now? Is there any particular medium or subject that you want to develop your skills in when it comes to drawing, watercolor, portraits, landscapes, animal paintings? Where do you want to be working? What do you want your art routines to be? What do you want to be sharing with the world? Think of all of those things. What do you want to be doing 6 months to a year from now every morning that is going to help set up that day up for success for you so that you can be as happy and productive as possible? How do you want to be with other people? How much time do you want to spend with your family? Like all of those things, bring them to mind right now start reflecting on what you want your life to look like. And then we're going to be working on your long-term goals and your short-term goals based on that. Something that always helps me is I ask myself, who do I have to be to do the things I have to do in order to get what I want to have, or to have what I want to have? So be, do, have. It's a cycle. Who do I have to be? And sometimes, you guys, it takes embodying that person before you become that person. And as you continue doing the actions that that person would take, you become that person. Okay. But you have to ask yourself, what would the highest version of myself be doing? And then that is going to lead you to those end results that you want. But you have to embody that person that you want to be 6 months or a year from now. Who do I have to be to do the things I have to do in order to get what I want, or to have what I want to have? Be, do, have. So the second thing that I'm going to walk you through right now with our worksheets is we're going to be establishing our long-term goals, and you can decide whether long-term for you means 6 months or 12 months. These long-term goals that you set for yourself have to be based on that vision in step number 1. They have to be meaningful for you, okay? They have to go hand in hand with your why and the life that you want to be living. Step number 3 is going to be, we're going to break down those long-term goals into short-term goals, meaning we're going to break down those 6 months or 12-month goals into monthly objectives. Objectives that you set month to month that you're going to be working on month to month. And then step number 4 is going to be to break down your short-term goals or your monthly objectives into weekly tasks, which you're going to plug into your daily to-do list, your weekly calendar, your planner, your agenda, which I've shared my agenda, my planner with you guys before. It's something that I live by. People ask me all the time how I'm able to stay as productive and do as much as I do. It's because I live by my calendar. I know exactly what I have to do when I wake up every single day. I know my top priorities, and I do not beat myself up if I don't get to the less important things. Stem from a big, meaningful vision that you want to work towards. And then how important it is to break that down more and more into very specific things that you're actually going to be plugging into your weekly planner, your daily agenda. And really work around your commitments that you already have, that your commitments with other people, your meetings that you have every week, whether you have a full-time job, whether you have kids, all of these things that you already have to take care of. Establish that in first, and then work around those times that you know you're going to have to kind of do something at. That is what I do, you guys. That is the strategy that has allowed me to not only develop my artistic skills to a deeper, higher level, but also get to a point at which I am making a full living for myself, doing what I love, which is creating art, selling art, and teaching art. I really hope that this was helpful for you. I really, really encourage you to give this strategic planning a go for yourself, and also to start incorporating the 5 key things that I shared with you beforehand that are going to help you succeed with this, okay? Start practicing them, and always remember to be flexible with yourself, because we're planning so that we can make things less overwhelming, so that we can have a sense of clarity and direction. But you want to still remain flexible, because life happens. Things come up that you have to deal with, that you have to take care of. It doesn't mean that this has to get done or you're a failure, as long as you foresee what's most helpful for you in terms of getting closer to your goals over time. Even if you missed a week because something like a something came up during a week and you were not able to make any progress towards any of your goals for a week, that is okay. Give yourself time, give yourself grace, and just continue working on your goals next week. Okay, it's just about picking up where you left off before. If you have any comments or questions, or you'd like to share your own tips and strategies with us, please do in the comment section that's below. I hope that this workshop was helpful for you. And here's to a super successful 2022 that is full of artistic development. See you soon. Bye, guys.